we've been using the term maturity, and Ima and I have both felt that maturity doesn't seem to capture the construct that we're trying to get at. And B'siyata Dishmaya, I think I now know what we're looking to do. What is actually the construct that we're looking for. And that is thinking. The IBM used to have, I still do actually, their slogan is think. That's their slogan. And it worked well until somebody in one of the corporate offices wrote underneath the think sign, that the IBM symbol, the think sign was all over their corporate headquarters, and somebody scribbled underneath or thwim. So the expression sink or swim is a familiar expression. So what they did was they turned it into think or thwim, and that caused that caused a lot of people to laugh, and it caused corporate headquarters to take down a lot of the think signs. But the what we're looking at is first think, meaning Yodashor Koneu v'Chamor Evus ve'Alav, Yisrael lo Yoda Amilo Hisbonan. That means that if a person is not thinking, so they don't engage with the growth process, because thinking means noticing and modifying based on the world that we see. You see the shore and you see the chamor, and there's supposed to be a moral lesson in the things that we see. So the first step is to not be so mechanical as to not be thinking. However, thinking, as powerful as it is a bit of a loose cannon. That means that it's very powerful to think, but if the person is not aligning their thinking, then they can go anywhere with it. In fact, the expression that was used for those who had departed from the ways of Torah and mitzvos was free thinker. So they were thinking, and they were free to think, but they were undisciplined in their thinking, because there was no sense that there was any place where you needed to get to in your thinking. So the Chacham, for example, is Lomed Mikol Adam. So he is wise because he has the openness of being able to learn from others. Another example of the Chacham is that he can say al Rishon Rishon v'al Achron Achron. I just wanted to share with you that Rabbeinu Yonah says that doesn't mean the wonderful praise that is given to Rivka Imenu, who, as a little girl, when she was asked a series of questions, she answered them in order. That's a lovely thing. But that's not what the Al Rishon Rishon Ve'al Achron Achron means, says Rabbeinu Yonah. It says, it means that if you're trying to communicate something, and there is hakdama, there's information that is needed in order to understand what you're trying to communicate, that you make sure that you give the necessary information. You give the Rishon first. But what in the large picture is that we find people who think that they think, but they're actually always subject to a confirmation bias. They're always thinking that what they think is correct, because as the pasuk says, Kol darchei ish Zach be'einav. A person tends to affirm that which he's already doing and thinking. And by the way, that's a tool that we're supposed to use in chinuch. We raise children, we train them to certain behaviors that they're going to need when they become adults, because we're taking advantage of this nature of human beings, that kol darkei ish yashar be'einav, zach be'einav. That means that they're going to affirm what we're giving them now mechanically. We're not giving them the rationale. We're mechanically giving them certain behaviors, training them to certain behaviors, taking advantage of the fact that when they get older, they will tend to confirm that to which they are accustomed. So that's good chinuch, because we know where we're supposed to go. What the issue becomes when, for example, Linda Torah derech eretz. The Torah teaches us how to conduct ourselves as a human being. So if it's derech eretz, how come we need to be taught? And the answer is that we need to use the capacity called thinking to align ourselves with Das Torah. And that's why we subject young men to rigorous alignment of their seichel in their learning. And it's why the Torah gives us Limda Torah derech eretz. There are certain things that we're meant to be thinking. And the tendency of a person who thinks is to confirm what he already thought. And when he's confirming what he already thought, that's not necessarily going to bring him more in line with the emes of the Torah. So what we're really looking at is two steps which are frustrating for those who are in or trying to maintain relationships, for example, or trying to promote community. The first step is, are you thinking? Are you thinking? Do you stop and think? So, well, what am I supposed to think? Oh, so the Torah tells us. Think about the fact that, for example, a chamor and a shor have built-in loyalties and recognize the source of their good fortune, and they are able to be they have that allegiance. Well, that doesn't affect me. Well, that's the problem. The problem is that you see it, but you don't internalize the message that's being presented to you. There's a message being presented by the nature that we look at. In fact, we're meant to learn Yiras Shamayim from grass. The grass keeps on being grass is supposed to impress us. That the sun keeps on rising every day is meant to impress us. That there's a continuity in nature is meant to impress us. It's not meant to put us in, wonder why that is. That'll send you off to La La Land. It's that Hashem put factors and nature into the world so that you can align your thinking. And that's why we were given a partner, we were given a community, we were given responsibilities. They were all meant to enhance and direct our thinking so that we're supposed to do things that are that the Mishnah in Avos says that are appealing and pleasant to human beings as they are appealing and pleasant to Hashem. So if my behaviors are not appealing in that way, I have an opportunity to reflect and modify. That's because I'm a thinking person. And so the message is not so much the message that we've been calling maturity. It really is about aligning and straightening our thinking. And so perhaps as we go forward, we'll look at the dovetail of how this process goes on as the person develops and evolves. Because we know very well that people who get older often get stuck with what we refer to as hardening of the attitudes, where they no longer have the flexibility to be able to think outside of their own grid, to be able to consider that there's growth and modification and the ability to learn from others, perhaps even from those who are younger than us. So the yashrus, what we're looking for is A, thinking, and B, aligning that thinking in line with the Torah's definitions of derech eretz. So we're moving a little bit from this sort of definition of maturity that is just about evolving away from being a child, which is certainly true, but we're focusing more on how much of our energy is focused on self-correction and thinking and our ability to modify based on our thoughts. And in the direction, as we modify, we are coming closer to the Ribono Shlom, because the more we align our thinking, the more our thinking becomes aligned with Das Torah, the more our thinking becomes aligned with the Ratzon Hashem. So there's a process going on. A, think. B, align your thinking. So there's a sequence, and that's supposed to be a singular focus. And we'll talk more about it, please God, as we go forward.